I help organizations to engage the millennial workforce. So based on the research that we've seen so far, a lot of the motivations of the younger generation seem to be very different from the older generation, like at the workplace. Right, so organizations are struggling to recruit, retain, and reward this generation to really leverage on them and make the best out of the strengths that they have.
So, there has been quite a lot of controversy recently about the post that Delane recently did. So, do you want to tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah, so Delane actually had recently put up a post on the 7 candidates, right, that he interviewed. Of course, they were not the only candidates that he had interviewed a lot more, but he shared responses that the 7 candidates had. And I think if you go back to that post, you'll see what are the different things. Yeah. So at the end of his post, he also mentioned that, the young generation have lost the desire to be for success, and they are not humble, especially in today's economy when we are going through like a recession. Right, they are still being very picky. They are negotiating the terms and conditions and the benefits before they actually pick. Right, so this actually sparked what you call a controversy, I guess. So there are 2 types of readers: people who want to go into the side who say that all millennials are like that, all Gen Z are like that. And there's also the millennials and the Gen Z who say, like, what kind of employer is this? He doesn't offer that much of value, and then he's complaining. You pay peanuts and you get monkeys, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So that is, it shows that there is a clear gap between what employers want, from the candidates that they are looking to hire. And it also shows what millennials want from organizations. It seems that what employers are offering today to the job market is not exactly what the candidates are looking for. They want more, right? It may not be more in terms of salary, but more in terms of benefit or balance, but work-life boundaries, more in terms of, assistance, growth. What are my growth, what's my growth plan going to be in the company? Right? They want to know a little bit more about, who are the culture like, why does this organization exist? They want a lot more of these things, and they want it also to be a bit more like performance-based kind of work. So there are different initiatives that companies are offering in the market. Startups have different things. They have like things like unlimited leave, right? They have a lot of different key things. So it's about finding that match, right? About what the employer and what the employee wants. So for this generation, it's about identifying what will incentivize this generation to join the company, right? What do you have that is the other organizations? So that's where this conversation we are having today is because we see that there is a clear gap between what's being offered right there in the market.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for those thoughts. So, what I'm hearing from you is that there's a gap between what employers can offer and then what millennials want. So, what are your thoughts on that?
My conversations with employers, I've also learned that they hire these candidates full of promise, full of energy, ideas, and things like that. But not everyone is able to follow through and be able to show their skills and show their talents and bring real results, right? So that is one of the comments that we've heard from the employer side. From the young millennials and the Gen Z, we also hear that employers promise a lot of things, but the job description doesn't fit the job that they're actually doing. So they're doing other things that was not part of what they actually signed up for. And it's also because of this, there is this miscommunication. So employers typically tend to expect that if you are employed under me, you will do anything and everything that I give to you. And now today millennials are a little bit more, they have a lot more access to knowledge and information, so they know that this is part of their rights or not. Then they will negotiate based on that. So they are a little bit more, I guess, comfortable not working, because we have the gig economy, right? Offering it may not be the same kind of income or benefits, but you can still survive, right? Survival is not a key issue for this generation, especially when you have parents supporting them very well, doing work that allows them to live the lifestyle that they want, right? A lifestyle where I can have my weekends untouched, a lifestyle where I can, work from home, a lifestyle where I can, do work that I'm passionate about. And so if they find that, this organization is not giving me all of those intrinsic motivations, it's not able to fulfill my lifestyle requirements, then they will move to another organization. They pay the same, but give them those kind of benefits that allow them to do these things, right? So these are some of the observations we are seeing on the ground right now.
You point out something very important. Employers seem to be asking more of what millennials are willing to give. So how can millennials actually value themselves better in this economy, especially when employers may have an upper hand?
Right. So in this economy, right, where we are not allowed to move out so much, offline events have been really affected, right? One of the key things to survivability of organizations is to make sure that you have a pipeline that makes sales online, and at the same time is also a pipeline to deliver your services as much as possible online, right? So both of these, that would value add to an organization. So where millennials can come in, especially those who are in the field of engineering, people who are in the tech space, right? What they can do is to help companies to really decide, right? How can I take something that's offline, an offline offer, like for example coaching? How do I make it online, right? How do I create the same kind of deliverables in an online space, right? And how can I make it end-to-end completely online? This is where millennials can value add, right? This is where they can come in and say, hey, look, I know how to do this, and this is what we need to do to make sure that we are not disrupted by something like COVID-19, which prevents us from, moving out of our houses. If we are stuck in lockdown, sales still continues, the business still continues, right? The entire pipeline online is fixed.
Yeah.
Organizations typically today, right, they function in an online plus offline model. The question is, are you able to bring everything online so that scalability is no longer a question, right? So you're not worried about payroll, you're not worried about making sales, right? This is what's required today. And if all of those systems can be put into place, then millennials will be able to value to the organization very well. On top of that, it's also, if this is not the space that they're in, right? For example, this is not what they study, right? The other thing that they can do is in terms of mindset. Though you're an employee, if you have a mindset of an entrepreneur of how can I add value and solve problems that will benefit my organization, that's the key mindset that is lacking, right? Or is required by the who are willing to go out of their way to solve key problems, to make things faster, at the end of the day, to work towards a bottom line, which is more profits, reduce costs, right? So how can you help towards that kind of a bottom line? Employees need thinking like an employer so that they will get a lot more attention and they will be given a lot more trust, even though they are the youngest in the workplace. Well, of course, there is a challenge for them to share their ideas and be, brushed off and new. So it's also important for them to build relationships with people who've already been there, listen to and understand how they've been doing things, suggest them after understanding the primary way the business is functioning.
Yeah, that's great. So, what I'm hearing is that millennials do have a lot to offer to employers, but sometimes they might not be able to illustrate that value very well. So employers might not be willing to give them, for example, a higher salary. How can they illustrate their value better?
For them to do that, first is to take note of what are the current roles and responsibilities that they've been given with, right? And make sure that in that area they are doing well. In fact, they're not just meeting expectations, they need to be exceeding expectations in whatever role that they're given, right? So that means to do more than what you are told to do, right? So it's to go above and beyond, is to take the extra step, right? And explore areas and identify problems that need to be worked on, even though that's not part of your job. Even though it's not your key competency, it's not what you really need to be doing, right? The whole idea is to have employees give more value, right? So they can do this by identifying key problems within there, right? And once they have done that and they've achieved certain successes, right, then they can renegotiate with their employer and say, look, hey, you hired me for this, I've done A, B, C, D, E, but I've also done, right, X, Y, Z, right? And this has generated these kind of results, these actions and behaviors. So I believe that a renegotiation of, my salary and benefits would be a fair thing to do. So you always deliver value first and then you renegotiate.
So, this is a very uncertain job economy. Millennials might be tempted to take just any job that comes to them. What's your encouragement or advice to them?
Well, the whole idea is to think long term. You cannot be driving Grab or being a delivery person on Food Panda, for the rest of your career. So the whole idea is to pick up skills that will have value as we move into the industry 4.0, as we move into the digital age. You want to pick up skills that will allow you to leverage those skills in a very powerful way. And of course, the government is, working towards digitizing everyone. So picking up skills that allow you to bring your company from, like what I said, right, offline to online is more valuable than working in the gig economy, doing gigs like driving. Driving is a very basic skill, right? I know you can survive on that, but you don't want to be stuck at a $2,000, income bracket for the rest of your life, right?
Yeah.
And no matter how much you drive, you're only being paid for the number of rides you're getting, and you cannot duplicate yourself, right?
Yeah.
Whereas in the online world, you can duplicate yourself, you can duplicate your services, you can literally create a video and that becomes a product, right? You can create a system and it just stays there, right? So whatever we're creating digitally, what we realize is it is not depreciating at all. It's something that will always be there as long as the website is there, as long as the person is there, the company is there. That kind of thing is always there. So how can you learn a skill that will allow you to do that? So for instance, if you learn how to create websites, right, that is a very basic skill, but not everyone knows how to do it. If you as a millennial can value add by doing those kind of things, it will help. If you understand the process of doing online marketing, digital marketing, right, that will help the organization to get more customers first through the online space alone, and then also try and find out how you can deliver the same kind of services as much as possible in the online space, right? So that's what we see a lot of organizations. So how does a food company still give out food, right? It's because online people can order food, right? And all they have to do is take the order and then send out the drivers, deliver it there, right? So instead of being the person who's driving, be the person who creates a system that allows this thing to happen, allows the transaction to happen. And if you can learn those kind of skill sets, you will definitely add a lot more value to the marketplace and to yourself.
Yeah, thank you so much, Vivek. That's very important. So it's about seeing what kind of value you can add to the company. So in closing, is there anything else you wanted to add that I haven't covered?
Well, when we're talking about this generation, I believe that they are empowered as a generation by their parents. They are empowered by technology, but what's lacking is the empowerment from the companies. A lot of companies don't believe in empowering them. They expect them to come in ready to work hard. Right, but they are coming in, the millennials and the Gen Z, they are coming in with a very consumer-based mindset. That means I will pick and choose which company I want. I'll see which recruitment process is the best. I will give feedback on that. I will choose which employer is the best. I'll give feedback on the employers. So it's a very customer-based mindset that this young generation has when they're coming into the workplace. And employers need to realize that you're not looking at someone who's dying to work in your company or whose livelihood will be destroyed if you fire them, right? For them, it's like, okay, you fire me, I can find another job. Or I can at least do something in the gig economy until I find. So there's this customer mindset that this young generation has, which they use it for their purchasing online. They also use it for their hiring, for choosing their jobs. They use it for rating their managers. So it's about what are you doing for me kind of a mindset, as opposed to what can I do for you, right? Is it their fault? It's not exactly the millennials' fault because they were raised that way. They were raised by parents who empowered them. They were raised by technology gave them that empowerment to access information. So they don't feel like they need an authority to go to get information or to get guidance, right? So now, if employers want to really engage this generation, then they need to start empowering them, being their coach, being their mentor, being the one who teaches them life lessons, principles, work ethics, right? Instead of expecting them to come in and know what it's supposed to be like. Right? That's the key gap that we need to target. And organizations, if they want to change, they need to take the first step. Millennials, if they want to change first, then they need to be the change.
Yeah, thank you so much, Vivek. That's very important and that's very helpful. Thanks so much for your time.